One of the guiding values of following Jesus is an emphasis on doing life with others in community. Yet so much of our technology and our culture, especially in Western culture, is built to help us live independent of each other. We are indoctrinated by the culture to think about me, myself, and I. In stark contrast, Jesus calls his followers to live a connected life in community. There's a book called Hebrews in the Bible, and in it there's a verse that puts an emphasis on gathering. It says this, "Let us think of the ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." Jesus came to create a community that shares life together and to create hospitable spaces where the recreating power of God's Spirit can become manifest. And that happens when his people gather. And there's something special about prayer with a community. In Acts chapter 4, it chronicles a moment when persecution broke out against the church. And it says that the church gathered together and they raised their voices together. They cried out, "Sovereign Lord." Something miraculous happens. It says the room was shaken. Now, there's just something special when a community is unified and they pray together. The room shakes. I can't find a place in the New Testament where any one person is praying individually and they see a room shook. You can't find it. There's another verse in the New Testament that reminds us of the power of community unified in prayer. And the context is the Apostle Paul is facing a very difficult season in his life, in his ministry. And he writes a church in modern day Greece, and he tells them this. He says, "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the troubles we experienced in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself." So he's not having a good day. I'm always interested in how a leader, especially of Paul's status, responds to hardship when it's overwhelming and it leads him to a place of even despairing for his life. He could have said to this church, "Hey, send some money to get me out of here," or "Send some help." Or maybe he could have said, "Provide a way out." But instead he says, "I want you to pray." Here are his exact words. "As you help us by your prayers, then many will give thanks on our behalf for the gracious favor granted us in answer to the prayers of many." Did you catch that? The prayers of many. What Paul appears to be saying is that prayer of many, the number of people involved in this prayer activity, affects the outcome and the answer that is going to be given. That's not to say that individual prayer is not effective, but there's an added dynamic when we gather and we pray together.